From across the comic book community multiverse, the Comic-Con podcast begins now with your hosts, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime.
If you give them the title of influencer, then that's giving them more power, right? That's how it is. Like, I'm a nobody. Listen, I'm a nobody.
Zack, aka the Manimal.
We talked about it for a full, I believe, 7 to 8 minutes on an hour-long normal podcast for a show. And you would have thought we set their house on fire with the backlash. So,
Hey, welcome back to the Comic-Con podcast, season 3, episode 9, recording this on March the 2nd of 2023. We have hit March. We're so happy. Of course, you know your hosts with the most this month, Zack, Justin, everybody's here. And of course, this month, we've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks, I'd say. This month is Women's History Month. So like we did last year, we want to bring in some women in the community because there's tons of women out there that have tons of comic book background. A lot of people in the community you may not know. You may hear them on this week, but let's kind of get right into it. Zack, how's it going this week?
yo, good. I mean, dude, March 2nd. Honestly, I feel like this is creeping, bro. We're barely at March already, and I love March. March might be like my favorite month of the year. We've got March Madness, we got spring break, St. Patrick's Day. It's a religious holiday.
Yeah, for you, I was waiting for that. I was like, where are you going to put these in order?
Oh, best for last, dude. St. Patrick's Day outweighs everything. Like, I get really pissed with my work because I'm like, hey, dude, this is a religious holiday. I need like the day off, and they don't give it to me. So I just don't take it. I just don't go to work. But
I hear you.
I love March. I'm glad we're here. Women's Appreciation, or what'd you say? Women's History Month, not Women's Appreciation Month. Every month is Women's Appreciation Month. Appreciate
Nice save.
women.
Nice
Always,
save.
right? Nice save. The wife might be listening later, so I want to make sure I don't get in trouble.
Or once we upload it, you may actually, she's going to check on these episodes going forward.
Right.
So, but like we said, we have a guest
real
this week.
quick
What's up?
before we introduce. No, go ahead. Actually, introduce, because I do got to give a shout out. But go ahead. Let's do introduction. Actually.
All right. So, of course, like we said, we have a woman here on the podcast, first time. You may hear her on Nearing Nerdvana. You also may know that she is the queen of Lords of the Long Box over there. We have Laura from Bird City Comics. Laura, how are you?
Oh, I am excited to be here. I think Anthony's a little bit jealous that I got to take over his spot tonight, but I am honored to be a part of this little podcast tonight.
Awesome.
Well, you're
we've
definitely
had
the better
Anthony on the
looking
show
half.
before.
Yeah.
Last year for our listeners, we had Anthony Bird City Comics on here the end of last year. So make sure you can go back and check out that episode, learn all about Anthony and about Bird City Comics. But tonight is all about Laura and being a woman here in the community.
Yeah, it's pretty intense some of the time, but
To say the least.
for the most part, it's all good for the most part.
What's your DMs like?
They used to be pretty rough.
Yeah.
When I first started getting more active on Instagram, we kind of had to shut a few things down early on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think nowadays people know who I'm married to. They know who I'm affiliated with. And so I don't get as much of that. I don't know what you would even call it, but for the most part, it's all positive and appropriate. And yeah.
That's
Well,
good.
I'm sure you get two things. You get like the sexual DMs, and then you get like flack from like, oh, you don't know comics, or like, what are you doing in the community? Would you get both of those?
You would think, and I think that's one of those assumptions that are made when you're a female in the industry, that you get bullied. I've never experienced that. On the contrary, I've only had people that reach out and say that they're really impressed with the amount of knowledge that the girls and I bring to the show. We know our stuff. I mean, we're not experts by any means, but I don't think anybody really is. And to claim that you know everything in this industry is so ignorant to me. So yeah, I've never had that problem. I have had some of the sexual DMs and people asking like how happily married I am. And
oh wow, that is bold. That is very bold.
There's been some fun ones. Like, oh, you're married? Yeah, I am. Are you guys happy? I mean, is it a good marriage?
Wow.
I've had those, but
Hey,
most of those have gone away.
Points for balls, I guess, on that one. Points, very ballsy. So tell us, you mentioned right now kind of about, and obviously Justin and I have interacted with you on Lords of the Long Box a lot, and but Nearing Nerdvana, and like talk to us about that, the origin of Nearing Nerdvana and of the rest of the girls, and yeah, kind of give us a lowdown.
So Nearing Nerdvana was originally streaming off of Tales from the Flip Side. The girls, I don't know if you guys know who Dino is, but he reached out to me and he was like, hey, we want to start this all female show and we'd like for you to head it. Cause I had been hosting mine and Anthony's Facebook live shows for a while. So I was starting to become more of a name people recognize at that point. But yeah, he reached out and then we found Lucy and Jen and we formed this little crew. We stayed there for a while. Then we got to the point where we just wanted it to be our own and there was no bad blood. We just wanted to start our own thing.
Mhm.
So we left and with the support of the guys from that channel, we started Nearing Nirvana, just giving a female perspective to a predominantly male industry. I mean, there's no getting around that. That's the truth. So we just wanted to be able to say our piece. And some of the girls on that show, man, Jen, for example, she knows more than anybody I have ever come across. And Lucy always adds her fun little flair, and it's neat. It's fun to have the girls on.
Yeah, obviously, Zach has brought it up. So Nearing Nirvana, what was the initial reaction, to everybody on, bringing this all female cast? What do you do? Obviously, for people that don't know the channel, what types of shows do you typically have on YouTube?
So we have two that we focus on throughout the week. The first one is called Comic Book Women, and that's on Tuesdays. That show spotlights a different creator, whether it be an artist or a writer, or a character. We pick one and then we give you like a list of some of the books. And it's different than like a standard top 10 list because some of it is books that are affordable. We kind of have a big range. We always like to start with the first. So it's a nice way to kind of zoom in on somebody. Last week we did James Tynion. The week before that we did Supergirl. So it kind of varies. So that's Tuesdays. And then Friday is our flagship show. That's Nearing Nerdvana. And that one it's like a jumbled mixture of what we cover there. We did Black History Month stuff last month. We bring on guests, we play games. There's always some sort of value though for the viewer if you're into collecting or specking or selling or whatever.
Nice. How many, and so is it, Justin and I both, had typically or originated kind of in the YouTube community and obviously moved to the podcast, but how do you like YouTube? How do you like YouTube over, I guess, Instagram and everything else?
Instagram is a necessary evil for me. And that's kind of how I view it. I feel very vulnerable on Instagram. It's really one of those things where it feels more dangerous on Instagram. Like people can just type in whatever they want and they can say whatever they want. But on YouTube, and you have the live comments going and you can speak back to anybody, it's not as intimidating. I prefer YouTube. I think it's a little bit more real. It's unfiltered, literally unfiltered. So when you go onto YouTube, you're getting real interaction versus Instagram can kind of, people are braver when they're behind their keyboards or whatever. So if I had to choose, I would choose YouTube, but Instagram has been great for marketing and it's helped get the covers that we do out into the community. And so I'm grateful for that.
Definitely. So Laura, kind of talk to us about like your origin of collecting. How did you start out? When did you start out? Why, I guess, too.
Well, if you guys watched or listened to the episode with Anthony, our son was refusing to read. And so Ant one day just pulled off on the side of the road. He was like 7 or 8 years old, Adam, and stopped at a comic book store and we bought him some comic books. And that was what really got Adam to read. He was not interested otherwise. And eventually we're like, okay, we got to figure out a way to support this hobby because we were spending hundreds of dollars a week. So Ant started selling them on Facebook. And at first the Facebook response wasn't very strong. And he's like, hey, I don't want to sound conceited, but he's like, Laura, I think if I put you on camera, we might get more interaction. And I was like, okay.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
That's honest. I'm being completely transparent. That's what the reasoning was there. And at the time, I didn't know shit about comics. I would come on and just chat with the chat, but I learned a lot from them too, because they would put up a book and they'd be like, Laura, do you know what this is? I'm like, I have no idea. And so they were constantly teaching me. And I started reading on my own. And now it's like, I wake up thinking about comic books and I go to bed thinking about comic books.
Welcome to the world of it almost can be worse than heroin in a way.
Yeah. It's an obsession now. It very quickly escalated to an obsession. So
Pretty much, yeah. We all know that. We've been doing this drug for a very long time, as we always say. So
yeah. Grown man with boxes of comics in his house is always somewhat hard to explain to the non-believer, I guess.
I can't get enough of it either. Like I have so many, and I just keep buying and buying. And
oh yeah. Well, and Ant told us that he has, I guess the benefit you guys have is a little bit of like a warehouse type situation, right? So you got some storage availability there as well.
Some storage is an understatement. We have a huge warehouse, and then I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but oh well. We just invested in a brick and mortar. It's 4,000 square feet over in Glendale, Arizona. It won't be up and running for months because it's a work in progress, but that's also filled with comic books, just to kind of give an image.
Oh my God, just there.
You guys are out in Surprise though, right?
We are.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Man, I got to come out there sometimes. I'm so close. I'll have to come out there and
why? Why do you want to come to Surprise, Arizona? We have like a Costco. It's like the highlight.
Well, the Royals have their spring training in Surprise. That's so I've actually gone there to watch them before, but I'm talking more like Phoenix. I mean, maybe come to Phoenix and you guys can come to Phoenix as well.
Yeah, we have nothing. There's nothing around here.
It is frustrating during spring training that the Royals play all the way out in Surprise. Because all the fun stuff's in like Scottsdale and Phoenix area.
Yeah, Scottsdale I get wanting to go and visit, but I don't hear people go, oh, I want to go to Surprise, Arizona.
Right, for sure. But man, hey, it's not too bad.
The West Coast is totally different than the East Coast. If someone ever said, I would never say don't come here because, New Jersey's so small. I could have you in New York in an hour. I can have you in Philly in an hour. Like it's just but there's so much around in New Jersey. You guys live in both like places that's just like there's nothing to do.
Dude, well, it's not that there's nothing to do.
It sounds like there's nothing to do. Like
the closest big city is like 4 hours away.
We have samples on Saturdays.
Yeah, dude.
Jeez.
So fancy out there in Jersey.
Yeah. Well, it's not fancy. It's just
where you can't pump your own gas.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It's weird.
Anyway, so Laura, obviously, you and Anthony kind of had the same similar, startup. Obviously, you've been collecting now comics for a while and reading them. What is some of the books that you've really enjoyed reading over the past couple of years as you've grown into this hobby?
When I first started, it was mostly indie because I found DC and Marvel were very intimidating because you don't know where to jump in. There's so many different storylines and there's so many different crossovers and it's hard to keep track. But then Anthony had me read The White Knight, which I really enjoyed. I think that the way that the Joker's written there is phenomenal. And I read Harleen, same deal, really well written. Then I got into Swamp Thing recently. So now I'm like in this Alan Moore rabbit hole, just trying to read everything I can. I get that he's wordy, but I kind of like that. I'm drawn to writers that get a little bit wordy. So kind of a little bit of everything. I collect a little bit of everything. I still have a bunch of silver that I'm hoarding. I won't let Anthony touch any of that. And we just got a collection yesterday and it was filled with hip hop variants. So I'm excited about that too. Yeah, kind of a little bit of everything now.
So now that you've kind of like been reading more, have you, besides Swamp Thing, have you dived into some of the more, because you're not wrong about like Marvel and DC, especially DC, obviously Golden Age books are so, Batman lore is so old, right? So have you tackled any of those larger titles, like the mainstays, and tried to get into any of the back stuff there?
I haven't really. To be honest, I dabble with some of the stuff that's off canon. I attempted Star Wars. And again, I just found that to be a little bit too much at the time. So now I'm like really into reading just small indie runs. I'll do some miniseries if I don't feel like I'll get sidetracked, because that's another problem that I'm having recently is I start reading one thing and then I pick up something else and I forget where I left in the other one and I need to learn to focus a little bit more. But why? Do you have one you would recommend?
Oh man. God. I don't know.
Only one though, Zach. One.
X-Men, every single X-Men title ever. I don't know.
Where do I start with that? That's a perfect example. I would have no idea where to dive in.
So I was on a big Ghost Rider kick this past year and I got all like the Silver Age, like Johnny Blaze stuff, or like Bronze Age, right? Bronze Age, yeah, Bronze Age, like Johnny Blaze stuff, and then which was like 85 issues or something, 89 issues, And then the 90s stuff, the Danny Ketch, which was obviously less, and that was kind of fun. I'm actually, what I just started reading today, this might part of my what we're currently reading, but since we're kind of talking about this, is for some reason I had a kick to read The New Warriors again from back in the 90s. So I kind of sometimes I like to revisit like those old stories that are done, like something like New Warriors 1 through 75 and kind of burn through those. But man, I don't know.
What about Sandman? Have you read Sandman?
It's
Tough
wordy.
read.
Yeah.
That's a tough read.
It's a tough read. It's not really my, I've read some of Gaiman. He's like novels, and I'm not crazy about his writing style. It's not really for me. But it's good. I mean, I read a couple issues and it was good, but I kind of got disinterested with it. So
Okay.
And you're into the horror stuff, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
you're a big. I know. When you guys are when you're on Shakers, and even on your own show, and even on Instagram, I've seen you post some stuff. So, how did that? Obviously, that was before the Swamp Thing stuff. So
yeah, that was way before. Some of the first books we did, like exclusive books, were horror books. We did. You read Ice Cream Man? I mean, that one's not like super horror, but that was one of the ones I enjoyed. I like reading stories where I can't predict what's going to happen. And again, this is going to sound really cocky, but a lot of the times I know what's going to happen after issue 1, and I completely just like, okay, I'm done. Mm-hmm. I can tell where the writing's heading. Mm-hmm. But horror books Lucy got me really into them too. When her and I first started talking, that's what she collected predominantly. And so she's like, Laura, start reading horror. And I am blanking on the name. Who wrote Steve Niles? 30 Days and 30 Nights, the vampire.
Oh yeah, 30 Days, 30 Nights. Yeah,
we had him on our show a while back, like a long time ago, and that was one of the first horror titles that I got into because we had him on, and he was so interesting to speak with. The way his mind worked was just fascinating to me. I think all horror writers have to have a little bit something wrong with them, but in a good way.
Yeah. Stephen King's got to be one of the weirdest human beings like who has ever existed, probably. Like it's probably painful to have a normal conversation with him, but he's like my favorite writer of all time.
Yeah, that's a good example too. And then James Tynion, same thing. I'm curious what he's like to have a beer with.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that you got Something's Killing Children, Nice House on the Lake. What's the new one? Neighbors. What's another one that's coming out, Zach? You were talking about last week's pre-order.
Yeah. World Tree.
Oh, World Tree.
Yeah. World Tree.
Yeah, we're doing a title for that one. And he wrote The Eighth Seal was his first published work, and that one's rough. You have like this woman that's ripping the heads off kids and stuff. And
wow, I didn't even know that. See, you learned something new. Eighth Seal.
Well, so Justin and I got a recommendation for you if you haven't read it already, and it was my pick for best series of the year, and Justin introduced it to me. And honestly, I already pre-ordered the trade paperback. Was Do a Power Bomb.
I read issue 1. We did a cover for that one. Ivan Tao did our Do a Power Bomb cover. That's a fun
Did you give up on it because you knew where it was going to go, or you just didn't?
No, it's not. I enjoyed issue 1. I just, again, we have so much coming through here all the time that unless it's like something great, I kind of move on to the next one.
Oh man, you got to go back. 7 issues, power through it. It's an amazing story. I can't wait for the trade paperback. Actually,
I'm just taking a look at the Ivan Tao one that you guys did. I didn't realize you guys did an exclusive for that. Kind of fell under the radar. I think it's a great series. I was a wrestling fan growing up, and then I got out of it. But yeah, it just showed up out of nowhere. I said, let me read this, and for 7 issues, it was very interesting to read. And it's something that's not horror, not superheroes. It's a completely different take on a comic book. So
wrestling and necromancy.
Yeah,
I would have thought those two would have gone well together. I remember when you first gave the synopsis, I was like, yeah, okay, Justin, I'll check it out. And then I did, and I was like, wow, this is actually really good.
So, of course, speaking of Bird City Comics, and you've done a lot of exclusives, and again, we've had Anthony here on, so you could kind of listen to Anthony's talk on Bird City. But being a newer collector here in the community, are you more of an artist or a writer? Like when it comes to comic books, do you like more of the art side? Do you more like the writing side?
So most people that watch Nearing Nirvana will probably already know this, but I was an art teacher for several years. Um, so definitely what drew me into this whole thing was art. In fact, it was Art Germ was one of my first, like, I was like, oh, this is an amazing artist. I've kind of evolved past him nowadays. I don't collect him as much, but Art Germ was one of my favorites. He did this Catwoman 42, I believe. It's just like a headshot of her with like lace, and I thought it was stunning. And then I started collecting Jenny Frison shortly after that, got really into her Wonder Woman run. I think she's phenomenal. And I like that you can see so much of her style has been derived from the Art Nouveau period, Alfonso Mucha specifically. You can see when you compare those two artists how similar they are. And I think that's incredible that you have an art style that could survive centuries and is still being used and sold today. Yeah, so my answer to that is a very, very solid. I'm into the art. I love the covers, and so that's when Anthony started doing exclusives. He slowly handed that responsibility off to me. He gives me a concept, and then I try to find an artist that I think can take that concept and amplify it. Because with exclusives, there's so much competition. You either have to be first, or you have to do it the best. Those are like our two options: be first with a concept, or do something that's been done already, or an original piece, but do it better, which can be challenging.
Agreed.
I'm looking at the World Tree Frizz-on cover, and it's awesome.
It's fantastic.
So it's so cool. She's got like have you ever heard of the South African band D'Antwoord?
No.
She looks like the lead singer there in that cover.
Yeah, she kind of has like a buzz cut going. We got a new artist. Her name's Anna Marcano on ours.
Yeah, that's a badass one too. That's got like a, what am I thinking of on that one? It's almost got a joke. There's like a Joker book that it's reminding me of.
The coloring, that green hue. Yeah. I when she showed me the finished product, I was like, this is so damn good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It was really well done.
Yeah, I got put onto Anna from, I don't know if you know them, Mad Love Comics and Art on Instagram.
Yes, so she did a Zatanna cover.
Yes, right? Yes. So I talk frequently with them, and they've been putting out. They're kind of just like portfolios. They're not comics. It's just kind of a, it's the cover, and then on the interiors is actual like photos that artist has drawn. So yeah, they've done the Zatanna with Anna, and I think one other one, but a couple other artists they've recently done. I know they just put out a Spider-Gwen with some, and they're like no-name artists that people like should recognize. And now, I just saw when you guys were doing the World Tree, I was like, oh my God, I know Anna. That's awesome.
Well, I think, I don't know, we start collecting, and some artists just get so big, and you collect, and that's a big thing with me. If I'm finding a new artist, I want somebody that's distinctive, somebody that you see their stuff on the wall and you're like, oh, I know who that is. I want to collect them. And some artists don't have that, but there's also, like you were saying, there's so much talent out there that's completely untapped. And I kind of consider it a challenge to go out and try to find somebody that is just not well heard of yet. Spoiler, we got Anna on her first Vampirella book, but it won't be out for months. But she's really excited about it.
How do you hunt for artists? Are you looking at I mean, I don't even have an example, but like, how do you hunt for, like what you said, you're trying to find someone new, you're trying to find someone untapped. Where are you looking for them?
Instagram comes in handy for that. And like, again, that's another place that I have to give them props to Instagram, because I do find a lot of artists, and a lot of artists find me. I have people that message me asking to send their portfolios over, and some of them are really well done. A few of them I'm like, oh God, like that's an awkward conversation to have, to be like, you are just not good. There's been people that send me stuff, and it that
sounds horrible.
Well, because you don't want to offend the person.
Of course,
they put time into this, but like some stuff is just really just not what we're looking for. So I have to kind of like pivot away from it. But Instagram's great, ArtStation's great. I'll always tell people like to send me recommendations if they have any that they particularly like. And I've used a couple of artists that have been suggested to me. Mr. Longshort from Long Story Short, Ben, he sent me Brooks Kim, which I ended up using. And yeah, so I take recommendations and I take as much as I can from the community and try to feel like what people are wanting to see more of, and then find somebody that matches.
It's so weird. Like before Instagram, and I still have an account, but I can't remember the last time I logged in. Was DeviantArt. Have you ever used that website?
That's where Ariel Diaz started, right?
Yeah. A lot of them. I used to follow a lot of artists through there because it was like there was their Facebook page, and then you'd see them at shows, and Instagram really wasn't a place to be posting all your your art. It was really just for food and travel and stuff like that. And then so I used DeviantArt so much, and I would post like sketches that I got, and people would tag me, and they would say, "Oh, check out this artist," and that's how you found a lot of things. And like you said, yeah, that's how Ariel started, and she's phenomenal. I love her art.
Yeah, she's done a couple pieces for us, and she's really good. Who's your favorite artist?
There's such a tough question.
It is tough.
It's no, and people that listen to the podcast, they know I'm the art guy. Zach's the writing on books. So I mean, if I look around my room, I got Alex Gardner stuff. I have 2 Ariel Diaz sketches.
Adam Hughes, Middleton.
Adam Hughes is in there. Art Terms in there.
Jeff DeCall becoming a new favorite.
There's just, I mean, well, Campbell. I always go back to Campbell because I have so much from him, like signed. But like it's tough because there's cover artists and then there's interior artists.
Right.
There's a lot of people that only do covers. So it's rough because it's like I love Dan Morrow right now. Like his interiors are phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
His covers are great too. John Boy Myers is a great person who does covers. So.
Yeah, we worked with him too. He's a cool guy. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah, John Boy's great.
I'm not like always into the art by any means. Like as long as the story's good, I can kind of even get past art. But there are like a few artists for me that have always kind of stood out. And it's funny because we're going to actually talk about 2 of them today. Funny enough, they're kind of strange, and I don't want to call it strange, but a little. I don't even know if I don't want to be offensive when I say like off artists in a way, but like I love Joe Mad's stuff. I love his style. It's different. I don't know if cartoony is the right word, but I love his stuff.
Perfect for animation.
Yeah, and I also love Chris Bachalo. I remember seeing his, and the first time I ever like really got into his art, and the first time I like hit me was Generation Next, part of like the Age of Apocalypse X-Men stuff. And then after that, like he's got his own style, which I don't. Sometimes it hits, or I mean, sometimes it doesn't hit, but for the most part, I really love his artwork. But it's different. It's not like normal artwork, I guess.
No, he does a great job, but he has a nice talent for using light. He had a cover. I don't remember the title of it though, but she's like, oh man, I have to look it up. She's on like the moon and the light's coming off of her back. Phoenix song, I think. Oh, I'll look it up while we're talking.
Okay.
But yeah, Chris is fantastic, and Joe. To kind of pull off of what you were saying, I think that his art is simple, but in a good way. Like, art doesn't have to always be like this really complicated thing. Like he keeps it very, very. I don't want to say basic. That sounds bad too.
I know.
What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to call him simple and basic because that makes me sound like an asshole.
I know, but it's the truth. It's appealing. It's nothing. It's not like obviously Alex Ross is kind of like, wow, you know what I mean? It's like very artsy,
realistic.
Yeah, and then but like Joe Mad is just, I don't know.
It has that video game animation
for
cartoon.
Basic. That's good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It has the video game aspect to it.
So since we're talking about Joe Mad, let's kind of get into some of our articles tonight. And then we definitely want to just talk about some variants that you guys are putting out. So over at imagecomics.com, this is just posted the other day. Best-selling phenomenon Battle Chasers celebrates their 25th anniversary and returns for a new story arc in June. So as we've been saying, Joe Mad, who created Battle Chasers way, way back in the day, 1998 was the first issue. And it's crazy because it took 4 years for a total of 9 issues to come out with all the delays that they had over at Cliffhanger, the Cliffhanger label. So Joe Mad, and it's coming back in June. This saw the resurgence kind of saw because I think in like 2018 or 2019, they had the anthology trade paperback. It's only 9 issues, but we're finally getting issue 10, which is really awesome to continue the storyline. And to give anybody an idea of what Battle Chasers is, it's kind of like a I would call it a Lord of the Rings type of like action series. There's there's 5
D&D.
characters. There's like a swordsman guy. I'm trying to think. It's Gully. I think Gully Carson. I can't think of all their names. There's who's the little girl is Gully. There's a golem looking character. There's the wizard, and then you have like a bounty hunter. So you have all different types of characters in like that fantasy world. And again, Joe Mad's stuff is pretty amazing. And like I said, with that coming out, we're going to be seeing issue 10. A lot of variant covers are going to be coming out, including from J. Scott Campbell, Humberto Ramos, Chris Picciolo, who we recently just talked about, Scotty Young, and Marika Andolfo. So, what are your thoughts on an upcoming continuation of Battle Chasers there, Zach?
Look, we kind of talked about this offline. I never read Battle Chasers, but I'm already planning on going back and reading them now. Like it sounds like something up my alley. It sounds like something I would like. I know our good friend Gabe from Gable of 90s Comics loves Battle Chasers and always talking to me about Battle Chasers. So, and I like Gabe's taste in general. So I definitely will check that out for sure.
Definitely. And like it's had its video games. It's been on. They did a Kickstarter as well a couple of years ago, and it's amazing to see Joe Mad's art. So it says that it is a new story arc with the comic book sensation Luby, and the new story arc is titled Martial Law. Readers are introduced to the bloody tale of the retired swordsman Garson, and of course the rest of the characters in the Martial Paladin. So what do you think about this, Laura? You think this is something that you want to go back and read, check out, since we've introduced it to you?
I have read this. I'll send it to you back if you don't have them. I have read this. I totally understand. Like I had to refresh a little bit, but what's interesting, like what you were saying, this series was notoriously known for having these huge gaps in between issues. I think between issue 6 and 7 was over a year, but that was pretty common during the 90s. I mean, when you look at what was going on, and I think initially it was meant to go on up to like 30 or 40 issues, but I mean, it was the 90s in comics, the late 90s. So there's probably some funding issues there. But issue 9 ends on a cliffhanger. So I think issue 10 is going to be pretty, I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I'm hoping they allow us to do an exclusive for this one, because I would get a kick out of it. And the fact that Zach chose him as one of his favorite artists is a testament to this guy's talent, that even after all this time, he still has this pocket of people that will follow him and buy whatever he puts out, even though he's been off doing video games instead.
Yeah, I mean, Darksiders, I fell down the Darksiders hole like sometime last year where I was playing all those. I'm a big fan of Crimson by him that he wrote. Was really good. What else, man?
Crimson went on for a while though. That one.
He's done like Uncanny X-Men as well. Like
he's done some Uncanny for sure. Yeah, he wrote. When I think about his artwork, I can picture the feral Wolverine when he had like the bone claws and the bandana. He was like drawing a lot of that. Yeah.
I definitely am excited for this. It definitely has that anime feel to it, and they did have. I remember, I think Battle Chasers was on like a cover price top 10 at one point, and you could go out and find these in your back issues. So, I hopefully, if you guys, you and Anthony get a chance to do a variant for this, for sure. Like there's some great things because of it being a anime video game type of video-esque. I'm sure you guys could create great concept on this. So good luck, and hopefully we'll get it. So
who's the publisher for that?
So Image, because it's always been through. Yeah, because it was like through Wildstorm's Image imprint, but it was something. Yeah. It was like through the Cliffhanger imprint was the original. Yeah. So it was different. But sticking with comic book stuff, Zach, we got a DC article. Get into that.
Yeah, so a new crossover, part of the Dawn of DC initiative. DC Universe will experience a living nightmare in a new crossover event titled Night of Terrors. Night spelled like the Dark Knight. This summer, DC Universe will experience a living nightmare in a new crossover event titled Night Terrors, which will force the heroes and villains to confront their worst nightmares. The horror-themed event is part of the publisher's overarching Dawn of DC initiative. It will kick off this May with Dawn of DC Night Terrors Free Comic Book Day Special Edition with art by none other than Chris Picciolo, who's returning to the publisher after nearly 20 years. So it's going to be written by Joshua Williamson, illustrated by Howard Porter and Gilliam March. begins with, or when Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman find the body of one of the Justice League's earliest villains in the Hall of Justice. Investigating the body, they are whisked away on a journey that will take them to the land of the dead and into a world of nightmares, and their only salvation may be Dead Man. So, like, I'm already sold here, man. I mean,
Yeah.
like Bachalo, and I love Dead Man. There's something about Dead Man that I've just always loved as a character. There was this mini series, I think it was like a 6-issue miniseries, probably back in the 90s. And each issue, Dead Man was in the body of like a different main Justice League character. And that was like my first time I ever read anything with Dead Man. And I don't know what it was about it. I can't even remember the storyline, but I remember being like, damn, this is a cool character. Like, I really, really like this guy. And just because of that one series that I still to this day can't even really tell you much about, I just remember the feeling of liking him so much. I'm always, anytime Dead Man's in a book, like, I'm pretty much in. So,
God, that was beautiful. You don't remember the story, but you remember the feeling.
Dude, I'm telling you. Now I gotta fucking find this series. Crap.
So it's starting off. I like how they're doing a free comic book day, and we really don't talk too much about DC, right? We don't talk too much about their events. They haven't really. Obviously, right now they're doing that Lazarus Planet, but with this one, I think this is really interesting because a lot of the characters, obviously not visual show, but on the covers you have Zatanna, you have Deadman, like you said. So again, the magic users, putting them in place. That's one of my favorite things because Justice League Dark has always been a great title for me. The New 52 run and then the Rebirth run as well. So I'm super excited to see this moving forward, especially with the other little tie-ins that they're going to do. Some of the variants just look wild in this article. So you can go over and check it out on DC Comics. This article is coming from Screen Rant. Laura, what are your thoughts on this one?
I don't know if they're trying to build the hype up too soon because we're talking like July, right? When these come out. So we have a bit of a wait, and I already told you guys my attention span's pretty small here. So I am excited. I wish they would have dropped this news a little bit closer to the actual event. Joshua Williamson was in charge of the main event for Dark Crisis, which I did read that one or that series, and I'm a little bit hesitant to see what he does. Well, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll put it that way. But yeah, the variants look great. Matina did one of them that I saw, and it looks pretty badass. So yeah, I think it'll be an exciting thing. I'm not too sold on crossovers. I kind of find them cheesy, but if this is done right, and if each issue is a different superhero fighting their villain, then it has potential.
Yeah, they talk about in the article that there's going to be other tie-ins in July and August with other characters. They haven't said who or what titles are going to have the crossovers, but obviously you could think about different characters that have had crazy stuff happen to them in their past, that their fears are coming back to them. So, and DC really doesn't do this. I love that they're doing a horror event. We've had like the Dark Knights of Steel, we've had the Dark Knight Metal, Dark Knights Metal, but when does really and the most recent one, like you said, Dark Crisis, but like this is a real horror event. So they're really leaning more towards the magic users and that world of horror, which we all know and love that DC can do.
Justin, who do you think, if you had to take a guess, who is the villain, the Justice League, from the early Justice League villain that they're going to find dead? Who do you think?
I was wondering that too. Yeah, let's see what you have to say.
Yeah,
you're a big DC dude.
It's probably going to be someone like, oh god, there's a couple of magic. There's like Felix Faust, like he's super old. Like I was thinking of that, and then there's another guy he kind of has like a skull face, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Phosphorus?
No, because he's more of a Batman villain.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, definitely Felix Faust because he's part magic, and I could see him with the horror side. Obviously, when you're bringing in all these magic users, so yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited for it. Again, it's now that not only the DC vs. Vampires is done, the Dark Crisis is done. We do need something new other than what they're currently doing. Obviously, the Dawn of DC just started. We talked about Superman last week, so give us an event. So the summer is already ready for their first event in this Dawn of DC era.
So that Dead Man run I was talking about, it's Dead Man, Dead Again. 1 through 5 issue miniseries that I found it. Now I'm gonna have to find it again and reread it. I remember
Oh, and the
really,
Chris
really
cover
enjoying
I
it.
was talking about earlier was called Phoenix Song Echo, if you want to look it up.
Oh, I remember that
Yeah,
series.
yeah, I have a bunch of the variants for that. Which one was it?
She's like on the moon and you can see the flames coming off of her back and the lighting is just stunning. So Phoenix Song Echo, this is issue 3.
Yeah, that's actually pretty recent. I think that just came out
Mhm.
not too long ago.
Oh, the new
Year or
series, yeah.
something?
Because wasn't there a Phoenix Song Echo, or no Phoenix Song? I'm thinking of that had like
There was a lot of the Phoenix song ones.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm seeing which one you're talking about. That is a cool cover.
It is beautiful. I ordered a couple of them after we talked about him a little bit on one of the shows, and it was rough because every single one I got had just spine ticks because of that black cover. But
What was the one I have? I have a variant of Phoenix Song Echo 1, which is you're, like you said, you're a big art person. And this is like the famous art. What is it? The Kiss or something? It's
oh, Gustav Klimt.
yeah.
Yeah,
I got that cover. I got it slabbed. It's a
Oh, I
beautiful
remember you
cover.
sent that in. Yeah, yeah.
that is beautiful. That's a nice one. That's a good pickup.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the Dead Man series from like 2017, 2018? I think Neil Adams did it because obviously he created Dead Man. Did you ever read that series, Zach?
I think I'm looking when I was looking here, I saw it and it looked familiar, but I don't remember it. You're talking
That
about
was a good series.
No,
it's
I
like
didn't
1
read
through
it.
6, I think.
Yeah, it's a mini series.
Yeah, with the glow in the dark cover. Yes, I did read this one. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, that's a good quick mini series on Dead Man. And again, he doesn't get too much love. You only really get to see him in the Justice League Dark Team. So.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on out of the comic book world and get into our TV and movie section. Zach, we were just talking about this guy last week.
Yeah,
follow up.
We did. We were talking about Steven Yeun supposedly joining the Marvel universe, and multiple sources are now reporting that Steven Yeun will portray the Sentry in the upcoming MCU film Thunderbolts. So we've been hearing for a while the rumors that the Sentry might make an appearance in the Thunderbolts, and then we heard that Steven Yeun might be cast in the or will be in the Thunderbolts as well. And so now it looks like maybe it's edging closer to the fact that that might be who he is. I don't think we have a for sure confirmation yet on this, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm not against it, but he's kind of small. Like,
it doesn't fit at all.
yeah.
Like when I was looking at that casting, I'm like, wait, what? Why? Like, I don't see that working. And maybe I'm just being super cynical, but like, it just doesn't make sense to me what that casting.
And look, I'm not trying to be, I don't give a shit about like a race swap or anything here, but like I'm looking at a picture and I love Steven. I think he's an amazing actor. And I'm sitting here looking at a picture of him in the Sentry. First off, you're talking about like a 6'3", 6'4", blonde, ripped dude. And then Steven Yeun, who's probably not 6 feet tall and not ripped or anything, not trying to body shame by any means. It's just, this guy needs to, I hope he's eating like 9 chicken breasts a day right now, getting ready for this fucking role. So
he's not like, it's not like Shazam. It's not like he could say something and then he like changes, and then there's like another actor who's gonna play Sentry.
Right.
Like, it's not like that. There's no, magic word. Yeah, it's very odd because we were just talking about this. Literally, Zach, you and I were just talking about this last week. Like, who could he be? And this was nowhere near where we were.
Amadeus Cho is the way to go, I think. Like,
that would have made more sense. This is odd to me, and I don't know. Maybe we're all just gonna be eating our words here when this comes out, and maybe he'll do a great job at it. But from what I've been like, if you watched The Walking Dead, yeah,
yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see how that moves over into this role.
So in this article, it goes on to say that another scooper had heard rumors that either Ryan Gosling or Alexander Skarsgård were going to be playing that role, which either one of those guys makes way more sense to me, especially
Gosling, though. Really,
he's a little short, right? But Skarsgård's a massive dude. Like,
that one I could go with that, but Gosling now.
No, I'm still holding out hope Gosling for Johnny Blaze. That's what I want to see.
That could work.
I want to see some Johnny Blaze action with him, but I don't know. I don't know about this Steven Yeun thing. I don't really even know. Let's see. Where's this really coming from? Another scooper, notable scooper.
Yeah, multiple sources and multiple scoopers. But I get the idea of bringing Sentry in there because, again, it's the Thunderbolt, so it's similar to the Suicide Squad, so they have to have some like
threat, right?
alpha level threat.
Right.
So you have all these characters to fight someone like Sentry because he is like a unstable Superman, as the article states. But I really don't see him being this character. But again, we've seen crazy body changes in actors, right? In actors and actresses. So
yeah, but you don't get taller. That's one thing you don't ever get.
But...
Look, I'm gonna tell you what. First off, if the cast that they have as the characters for the Thunderbolts, they have no shot in ever going up against the Sentry. The Sentry literally tore through the Marvel universe. Like, you're telling me all these non-power Disney that cast of Thunderbolts didn't we already go through this? None of them even have any superpowers.
Yeah. I mean, unless you keep Ghost.
Unless you keep Ghost, and there's rumors she's leaving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, Bucky and Hawkeye. Like, I think you're Black Widow. I think you're fucked here on that end.
Right? He's supposed to be like a god. He's unstoppable.
Yeah. Good luck, Red Guardian. I don't see this working out for you.
I guess the closest would be John Walker, right? Because he's got the super serum.
Yeah, yeah. He might be able to stand up like for a little bit. And Bucky too, I guess, because a little bit of
yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, again, follow-up report from last week. We'll probably be talking about it in a couple months when he officially gets announced as some character in the MCU. So stick close to us on that.
I want to see if we're right or wrong here. I mean, time will tell.
Yeah.
So let's get into what are we currently reading. So, of course, how we end all of our shows with what are we currently reading. Since it's a little early, we don't have any pre-orders up for this month. Pre-ordering would be for March, coming out in May. So let's kind of get into some of our stuff for what are we currently reading. Zach, start with you.
Oh, man. What did I like this week? Like I said, I'm starting to read the New Warriors, which is kind of fun. By no means is it amazing writing.
Well, it's 90s stuff.
Yeah, it's 90s. Fabian Nicieza. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But it's great. What did I like this week, dude? The Ghost Rider number 12. I'm really liking Ghost Rider, this run of Ghost Rider. I love the introduction of oh man, I forgot her name. The kind of like magic user. It's like dark,
like the caretaker chick.
Yeah, but she's not caretaker. She's like gothic. And in this past issue, they you're seeing probably a reintroduction of Danny Ketch showing back up. Otalia Warroad, that's her name. And I'm really liking the dynamic between her and Johnny Blaze. Hidden Empire was great. Hidden Empire number 4 was really good. Like, honestly, this might be the best little mini series that like event that the Star Wars Marvel has done in this phase for sure. And what do you think, Justin? Is it because it's spaced out? I kind of feel like it's because it's spaced out, right? It's not like every month. It's almost like they're not coming out every month, right?
Well, they are coming out every month, but I think it's because there's no tie-ins with the other titles. Like, I think it's just
that's
the fact that it's completely separate. When we had like War of the Bounty Hunters, and then we had Crimson Reign, like everything had to fall in place, and you almost feel like you had to read those titles to figure out what's going on. With this, it's straight up. It's just Crimson Dawn. It's the Empire. They're fighting each other. There's something going on. They're looking for something. So it's perfect.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Honorable mention, Rogue and Gambit number 1 was pretty good, pretty decent. And yeah, nothing too outstanding this week.
Okay. Laura, are you currently reading anything that the people should know about? Any new titles or any old titles that maybe should be on people's radars?
Yeah, there's a couple. The first one, and I just did a review on this actually, was Blue Book, again by James Tenney IV. He just came out with that, and the artist is Michael Avon Oming. So that's based on real life events. So if you guys have ever seen the show Project Blue Book, it has Aidan Gillen in it, the guy from Game of Thrones, Littlefinger.
Oh, okay. Yes. I know what show you're talking about. Yeah.
It's based on when the United States Air Force actually hired this team to kind of go and investigate all these, I don't know, how would you, experiences.
UFOs. It's something, isn't it similar to like the Department of Truth, right? Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it's more focused on this one specific realm of conspiracy. Okay. So I binged the show that came out in 2019. I think you can still watch it on Amazon Prime. And then as soon as the book came through, Aunt's like, Laura, you're going to like this one. And I read it, and it's really, really well done. They focus on the hills. That's this first couple in the 60s that they're driving home, and they come across like this shape that comes across the moon. And I love alien stories. I think they're so neat. And it's not one of those things where you're like, okay, this is just some crazy people. James does a really good job of building credibility of the characters by giving you some background information as to who they are and where they used to work. This is pretty new, so I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but you believe what you're reading. You believe that this actually did happen to these people. And the art is done in a very clever palette, because you have white, black, and blue on the interiors. So it's very simple, but it creates that feeling that they're trying to get, that I don't know, that threatening feeling, I guess, would be. But anyway, that one's really good. I highly recommend picking that up if you haven't already. I didn't buy the variant. I just went with cover A, and it does say foil on it, but it's just the title that's in foil. The rest of it's just cardstock. That would be my favorite for this week. And then the other ones I just read was The Last Barbarians, also an Image title. It's female warriors. And so when I saw the cover art for this, I was sold, and it's very, very well done. The interior is just as beautiful as the exterior art. And Zach, you were saying earlier that you'll read a story if the writing's good and the art necessarily isn't.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite. If the art's really great and the writing isn't, I'll just kind of fill it in for myself in my head. And that's kind of how I feel about this one. The art carries that book.
You'll just make the story up kind of how it fits it.
Yeah, I'll just pencil in my own stuff.
That's
The Last Barbarians and Blue Book.
I'm looking at that Brian Haberlin. He wrote The Marked, right?
Yes, which I think got optioned a long time ago, but I think that one's going to be coming soon too. That's a good one.
I like The Mark. That was a good series.
That was pretty decent. Yeah, but it didn't really go anywhere, and they kind of ended it. I don't really know what happened there.
Yeah, it was like 10 issues, maybe. Something like that. Cool concept.
Yeah.
The tattoos with the magic, like total great concept. Anything else, Laura?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I've ongoing series. I've continued to read 8 Billion Genies. That was one that kind of just like catapulted Bird City to the front line. And so I'm very appreciative of that series and those writers. And it's a fun story too. Have you guys read that one?
Yeah, I didn't. You know what? I didn't pick it up when it first came out because I was just like, it's like interesting, but not really my cup of tea. But then I got into it, I think, after like issue 3, and I was able to still find, like, at the time, like, first prints. But it's a great series. It's definitely very interesting in how it progresses throughout the years. Like, every couple issues is so far along in the story, and yeah,
it's a fun premise. I'm curious to see what they do with that on Amazon. And then I went back and reread issue 1 of Something Is Killing the Children because everybody was just talking about it. And I'm like, I want to go back and reread that. Because I'm curious who everybody's trying to figure out who Erica Slaughter is going to be and who they're going to cast her as. And I want to know who they're going to cast James as. That's the one that I keep on going, okay, I'm trying to picture it in my head, and I can't figure that one out. So I went back and reread that. I was reading House of Slaughter, but I lost interest.
Who was James? The boy?
Yeah.
The boy, the one who, the first one, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Zach and I came out with ideas last week of who would be Erica.
Stephen Yuen.
No. Obviously, I said Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh,
that's a good
okay.
one.
Right?
She got the big eyes.
Right?
Yeah. Blonde, skinny, like totally could see her as Erica. Our friend Gabe said the girl who played in Kick-Ass, who plays
Chloe.
Chloe Benoit, Chloe something.
God, no, Chloe. You're thinking of the girl from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Chloe. Oh my gosh, we were just talking about her last week, dude.
Chloe Moretz, Chloe Grace Moretz. She plays Hit Girl.
Moretz, yes.
Moretz.
Okay, she was in The Fifth Wave too. That was pretty good.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Who would you want to see as a fan casting?
I don't know. I almost feel like it needs to be a nobody, somebody that we don't recognize, and see what they can do with it. Have you guys been watching The Last of Us?
I haven't started because I've already played the game, so I know what's happening. No, it's fine. I played the game. Like, I know the story. It's fun.
No, I know, but I knew you were dragging ass on watching that show.
I'm gonna wait till it's over so I can just binge it all in like one weekend.
Okay. What were you gonna say, Laura, about it?
Oh, sorry. I'm looking it up right now. Who's the chick that plays Ellie? What's her name?
Oh man.
Bella Ramsey. Okay,
Yeah.
Bella Ramsey. So I like that, even though I know she was in Game of Thrones. I know that she's in his Dark Materials, but she wasn't like super, super well known. So find somebody either that is completely a no name or somebody that I don't immediately recognize, and I have to sit there and go, where do I know her from? You know?
Yeah. Who was Bella Ramsey in Game of Thrones?
She was that badass. Oh God, what was her name? She was one of the ladies of the North.
Yeah,
who ends up
Lady
standing
Mormont.
up.
Yeah, Mormont. She was the little
Yeah.
Mormont. Yeah.
She was such a badass.
Actually, now that I'm thinking, since we haven't seen her in a while, the chick who played Arya Stark
As
Erica?
Yeah,
throw some blonde on her. She was pretty badass by the end of like the series.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man, I'm telling you what, I'm looking at a picture of Anna Taylor-Joy though, and like
Hold on. Now I gotta
it's
look.
like perfect. I mean, it's literally like perfect.
Queen's Gambit, like magic from New Mutants, like everything.
Anya. I keep saying Anna. I think it's Anya.
The Queen's Gambit was phenomenal. She did such a good job in that. I could see that. She has the right eyes for it, like those big, creepy eyes almost.
Blonde hair, just throw a mask on her.
What about Dakota Fanning?
She was good in, what was that movie? 8? That's what it's called. The train where there's a train crash. She was good in that. Maybe. She's almost too like innocent to me. We need something a little bit edgier.
Yeah.
You're getting warmer though.
Yeah. Paris Hilton.
Oh, we're just going off on it.
I'm just going off of like blonde people.
Get out of here. No.
It's tough though. I mean, that's like it. I mean, think about, can you off the top of your head, can you come up with like unknown actors or actresses who were cast and just like nailed it? Because I mean, Hugh Jackman is probably like the best in my opinion. Like, okay, no one knew who the hell he was and boom, crushed it. But
wasn't Chris Pratt like that? Nobody knew who he was, and he just ended up in Community and took off from there.
Parks and Rec, and then
Parks and Rec. That's what I mean.
Yeah, he was in Parks and Rec. He was in the OC for a little while.
Really?
Yeah, season 4.
I didn't get to season 4, Zach, but you did.
I'm a big OC fan. I'll admit it right now. I'm a massive
guilty
OC
pleasure.
fan. It is a guilty pleasure. It is.
Wow, I would not have guessed that.
I'm an onion. There's a lot to me. You have no idea. My wife she's like, oh my God, are you watching that? So my wife watches Supernatural like all the time. Like that's what she'll put on and it'll be in the background or whatever. And she'll be like working or doing whatever. And
that's what
I'll have like the OC on. She's like, are you watching the OC again? Like, yeah, it's awesome. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow. Okay.
The things you learn on this podcast, folks.
There you go.
Well, for myself, what am I currently reading? Let me tell you real quick. This was an absolute terrible week of books. Other than, I mean, you took Hidden Empire, so you can have that one. That's fine. But for me, man, I have a lot of hot garbage this week. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's hear it.
A lot of hot garbage. So, to be honest, I'm happy Mando's done because, of course, it was season 1. It was just
I wasn't even reading it.
Yeah, I kind of just like I literally blew through it. I just didn't really read because you've watched the TV series, so it's literally verbatim. A lot of stuff is verbatim, so I'm happy that's over. So it's kind of hot garbage. Of course, my girl Spider-Gwen, Shadow Clones #1. I love the art. Kai Zama is the artist. Great artist. The writing's good. It's just the storyline is stupid. Like we just had Gwenverse, so it was the whole storyline was there's different versions of Gwen that take on the Marvel Universe characters. Now we have this storyline with some character who basically has her husband killed and I guess is basically going against Spider-Gwen. So she creates clones of different Spider-Man villains. And in this first one, we have Doc Ock. So it's like Spider-Ock or whatever. And then in the next issue, we're going to be having Sandman. I just think it's just wasted on like a good character, and especially someone that hopefully we'll see in live action at some point. We talk about this with Miles has ongoing series, but like with Gwen, like she's only had 2 ongoing series, and now they do these mini series, and especially to go back to back with these clones, it's just it's just a way to ruin the character, I feel like. So really not a big fan of the Clone Saga.
Ruin it how? Like it's diluting it?
I mean, you take a character like her, and we just came out of, she was big in the Spider-Verse series. She was a big character, part of like the Web Warriors story series, Web Warriors, what was like her and Peter Porker and Spider-Man and like other different Spider characters. And then you finally come out with like a new mini series for her, and it's clones of her. There's like a Wolverine one, there was like a Cap, a Thor, an Iron Man, and you're like, okay, I can deal with this, right? That's fine. I could swallow it for 5 issues. And I'm a huge Spider-Gwen fan. And then you're like, all right, we're gonna do a follow-up, but it's not really like a follow-up. It's more of, a brand new series, and you're just rehashing it, making it clones of Gwen, but they're Spider-Man villains. So again, there's gonna be a Vulture version, there's gonna be Kraven, Rhino. Like, she's on her own Earth. She has her own villains, she could have her own storyline. She bounces back and forth between Earth 65 and the 616 universe. So you can't come up with a good storyline like for her, really. It's just,
I hear you. That makes sense.
Yeah. And last but not least, I really wanted this series to be good, and I'm hoping it gets good. But the Riddler Year One, written by Paul Dano, who played the Riddler, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. It's in that universe. It's in the Matt Reeves universe. It's obviously way before the Batman, but I don't know. It just didn't really click for me. For this,
is it like an origin, like his origin, kind of?
Yeah, it's kind of like very the beginnings.
Okay,
he kind of has this like compulsiveness to him, like obviously, and I feel like, all right, fine. Like if it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be 4 issues. If it grows into where now we know like where he first, we first meet him in the Batman. Okay, but at this point, I really wasn't like, it didn't really get me, right? And Paul Dano's not a writer; he's an actor.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to write this, I feel like it's taking on a little bit too much.
Is that his first time writing?
Comic book, yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's brave. It's ballsy.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's great to be able to
ruin your own
do the character, right? Like you portrayed the character in the movie, and now you want to write an origin for him, and DC's allowing it, and I'm sure it's a little bit got to get approved, like by Matt Reeves, because some of the stuff will be in his universe.
The Sentry had a good origin story. Circle back to that. That was a good origin. That was a really good origin. That was one of those ones where you're just like, you can't figure out what's happening the whole time.
Yeah. And the Sentry's a good character. It's a good character. I don't know why now we're back on the Sentry, and it's like I'm worried though. Like Marvel has the history of being one and done, and you bring him out as a villain, and then is that the last we're gonna see him? Because like you said, I mean, there's a lot of meat on the bones of the Sentry for good storytelling, with like the Void and all that, and so I don't know, kind of nerve-wracking a little bit.
Well, puts him in the cosmic universe then.
Yeah.
Hey, didn't go off on a tangent there, but you were talking about origins, and that's like my favorite.
No. We believe me, there's times where we go way off course on our. we did a when we did our Ant-Man review, we were talking Linkin Park, right?
We started talking about Linkin Park for whatever reason.
I used to love Linkin Park. I haven't seen Ant-Man still, and I have to say, I just don't care that I haven't seen it. It's
fine.
I'll see it when it's available in my house.
Yeah. It's probably not a big deal. I mean, you can probably wait for sure.
Definitely. So Laura, again, we appreciate you coming on here on the podcast, getting to learn all about you on our first guest for Women's History Month. You do have some upcoming variants coming out for Bird City. Why don't you talk about those?
Well, World Tree was the one that we just launched this last week. We are running really low on that, like under 20 copies left of that book. And that's not me trying to sell it. That's the truth. That one's almost done. That has a lot of potential too. I mean, if James comes out with this series that does amazing, I could see some more of his stories being picked up. And he actually said, quote, that this is the most brutal and horrifying piece that he's put out, which says something when you look at his past stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. And that just came out. And then tomorrow we have Street Fighter Masters Cammy #1. Anthony and I are a little bit nervous about that because we've never worked with Udon Entertainment before. We've never done any of the Street Fighter covers, so this is a first for us. From what I understand, there's like this massive cult following with those titles, though.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I'm new to it. I'm definitely new, so we're crossing our fingers, hoping that book gets shared around enough that people know that we're doing it. And we're also doing a swimsuit issue too for Street Fighters that'll be coming up relatively soon.
That'll sell.
We have a Usagi TMNT coming out next week. Dark Ride number 6 is coming out next week. We have a lot coming up. We have a lot of stuff.
So I was actually just on the website, and the World Tree is actually sold out.
Yeah.
According to the website.
Shit. See, I wasn't lying then. I told you guys we were running low on that. I just haven't checked recently. So.
Well, there you go. So yeah, congratulations, sold out. Like the Anna Macario. Like it's great. I think she's a great artist. So and the Street Fighter stuff is perfect too. You know, when you posted the teaser, I knew exactly who it was. Big fan of Cammy. I think, and the video game people, they definitely flock to these characters. So I know they are doing the Darkstalkers Felicia. So I know that's like an upcoming one. That's again same thing, like video game related. So maybe look into doing a variant, or if maybe you are doing a variant for that.
We might be. I don't know. It hasn't said anything yet.
Well, look into that. She's a great character. One of my favorite Darkstalkers. So
Will do.
But before we get out of here, let everybody know where they can find you.
So I'm at Mrs. Bird City, or you can just follow Bird City. I kind of bounce back and forth between both profiles. And then, of course, on Nearing Nerdvana, we go live every Tuesday and Friday at roughly 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. If Lords of the Long Box doesn't run late, which happens a lot. But yeah, that's where we're at. And then throughout the week, Nearing Nirvana also has Team Nerd Herd, who recently joined the channel. They do Cover Lovers on Wednesdays, or maybe Mondays. I don't even know my own schedule. And then Long Story Short, which does like ghost and banger type books, goes live on Thursdays. So every day we have something. So check out the channel. We're also on Instagram at Nearing Nerdvana.
Nice.
That was a lot, huh? Sorry.
No, it's good. They gotta find you. The people's gotta find you.
Yeah.
We'll have it all in the description as well.
Support women, guys. There are a lot of women out there that are so incredibly talented. We just covered DeConnick on one of the shows recently. She was the one who created Captain Marvel. Really interesting lady. We definitely like to get female artists out there. You got Tula Lote, you got Jenny Frizen, you have Trish Forstner, who's done several of our covers. A lot of really talented women. So give them some love. Follow them on Instagram and support their projects.
Yeah, definitely follow the ladies over there at Nearing Nirvana. They definitely have a wealth of knowledge. And, they could put a lot of us to shame.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. That's good to hear.
But don't put us to shame, please.
I'm not promising anything. You guys have yet to come on Nearing Nirvana, so
hey, there's the invite, folks. If you don't see Zach or I,
no one's creeped into my DMs and asked me to be.
I will let Lucy know that I demand it. We like to have, like, if you guys are okay with us busting your balls a little bit, like we had Pressable Defects on and we played like games with them, and it was so much fun because they are some of my favorite people. They're just fun to like mess with, and you guys seem like that's the
Jay's one of the best people to fuck with.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Us East Coast people, the New York, New Jersey people. Yeah, we're good.
No, those are our guys too. Yeah, they're good dudes.
Yeah, they really are. So there you go. You guys heard it too. You guys agreed to be on Nearing Nirvana, and I'm gonna make it a game night. We'll do some trivia, maybe some Pictionary.
Oh man, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Zach, closing words.
Real shout out real quick to I'm not gonna give his whole government name here, but Scott hit me up on Instagram. We talked about being in San Antonio not too long ago and how I wasn't able to cruise through shops, and Scott went out there, said he went to a shop called Gotham Newsstand Comic Shop, and it was pretty cool. Said he had a lot of back issues sorting through. He was able to pick up some pretty cool stuff. And weirdly enough, he said he was also out there and he took a blacksmithing class and made 2 knives from a horseshoe. And he said it was a lot of fun. So if you guys are interested in learning how to become a blacksmith, look into that. He said it was really fun. But yeah, no, shout out to Scott for hitting me up and giving us some good information on good shops in the San Antonio area.
Awesome. All right. For myself, and also Bird City Comics is also on Whatnot. So make sure you follow Bird City
Oh
Comics
yeah,
on Whatnot. They got some
and
some
TikTok
fun shows.
and
Oh,
Twitter
TikTok. Oh,
and
all over the
eBay.
place.
We're
Yes.
everywhere.
Bird City is all over the place. Make sure you follow them. For myself, of course, I have some upcoming Whatnot shows. You know where you can find me. Actually, this weekend I'm doing a Transformers show, and then Monday night I have another show with a bunch of people with Comic Enterprises, Comic Dunes. Wanted Comics is on we got like a 4 or 5 issue, 4 or 5 guy lineup for Monday. So make sure you're checking us all out. And then, of course, this upcoming month, in literally less than 4 weeks, King Kong #4 is March 25th, March 26th. You're going to see me vending over there in Iselin, New Jersey at the APA Hotel. You can find them on Instagram. You can also buy tickets right now for King Kong, the 4th show. So that's it for all of us here at the Comic Con Podcast. We will catch you all next week. Peace out.